did this casting of a smaller Sasquatch foot, and I do this other one. I start. There's also some huge cougar prints up there, and so I was pouring a casting of that, and all of a sudden I got hit by this strange noise, and I don't know what it was, or it was very rhythmic and kind of and the thing it reminded me of is like when you put your as a kid, when you put that playing card on your bike and ran it through the spokes, you know?
Oh, you make it that noise like a motorbike type of noise, yes.
Yeah, like that, you know? And all of a sudden I got hit with a weird sound like that. And I turned around startled, and that really really unnerved me, because from the direction of where it was, there just simply wasn't anything there that I could see. And it got me too worked up, and so I left the castings in place, and I hauled ass, you know. Sorry, excuse.
Well, you can say that. We're on the internet, so you can definitely say that.
Okay, I don't want to offend anybody, but it was really intense, and so 2 days later, I come back, and there's this rock sitting on this log that I'd stop at and rest on my way up to this, because it was a pretty steep climb, and there's this rock there, and if anybody wants to look, they can see it, on my page. It's got the face of a Sasquatch on it with a crow head with its beak in the Sasquatch's mouth, and it has a crow etched in kind of on the top of the rock, and it has arrows kind of pointing to them, but it's also got these little dots that go from the crow's eye to the Bigfoot, and so I know there's a connection there. I've learned that up to this point, and once I picked that rock up, it sealed my fate.
In what way? What way did it seal your fate?
It became my destiny to bring awareness and observation to ancient, intelligent life forms of Mother Earth that are not recognized in the world as we know it today.
Oh, wow.
And I as time went on, I've seen 3 different kinds of Bigfoots, let me back. I've seen 2.
Okay.
I've seen 2. I believe there are 3 different kinds, and I have seen since, a mountain giant, which is in a class all of its own.
Okay, why don't you describe to the listeners out there how tall they are, what they look like, what color they are, and any sounds that you might have noticed. Why don't you let them know? Describe each one, if you can.
Yeah, certainly. As best as I can, anyways. And for many of you that follow Scottsville and have seen the picture that I posted today, there are actually there's actually that is a Sasquatch, and a gentleman not too long ago was on his computer and said there are actually 3 Sasquatch in that picture, and I believe there are 3 different kinds of Sasquatch. you can find the breakdown of that picture on my page, and so not to insult your intelligence. In every case I can, I try my best to do a complete breakdown of these photos. But some are just so strange, like this one, that I did do a break for. That nobody ever could imagine these pictures. There are creatures in these pictures, not just Sasquatch, other creatures that are in some of my pictures that are not known in this world as we know it.
Well, what do they look like? What do they? I mean, how big are they, and what do they look like? Now you got my curiosity up.
The one that I took the picture of, and I dotted the eyes and did the beard and stuff on to kind of give you a reference, because they are masters of camouflage, and they blend in and absorb the colors around their environment so well, and this particular one is about, and it's the second time I've seen it, and for you to understand where it was at, where it was standing when I took this picture, it is probably 15 to 20 feet tall. And
well, that's more like a giant than a Bigfoot.
Nah, that's not a giant. That's a really, really big Bigfoot. That's the tallest of the Bigfoots. Now there are a couple, there are others that are 12 feet, 8, 9 feet, that kind of thing. But this is a different one, and they have legs very long. Like 75% of their height is their legs, and very long legs, and their body doesn't even really match up with it that well. And it's very strange to see. But I watch, I've seen it 2 times now, and the second time, if it wasn't, that's what made me think it's probably better than 20 feet, in all honesty. A little better. But I watched it. I woke up one morning and I saw this thing step. I went to relieve myself, and I look up and I see this very, very, very tall figure step from one tree to another tree, and up into the shadows it went. It was the canopy was still very shady. It was early morning, and it was just very dark. I could see that the legs on it were. If it were to stand still and you were driving by, you would think it was just a skinny, a tree. And so that's a different kind of Bigfoot though and I've seen that one, and it's in that picture. It is. I'm pretty sure it's that one anyway. But just as that happened, I look back, and I'm very familiar with my surroundings in this area, and I look back, and I'm looking at something, and I cannot get my head around what it is I'm looking at, and I start to come to the conclusion that maybe it's like a black and gray primered car, and all of a sudden it lifts up off the ground and steps forward, boom. And I realized at that moment that what I was looking at was a black and gray, very, very furry foot, about the size of a Dodge Stratus. And it made one other step, and then that same foot lifted again, and it went away. It went somewhere that I could, it was gone. It was gone.
Now, did it notice you at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I didn't know it at this time, and it wasn't, once I took that picture of that slab of wood, and you're welcome to draw your own conclusions. You're welcome to say I'm crazy. It won't be the first time. That set off the chain of events. After I picked up that rock, that sealed the deal. And the Sasquatch, not just the Sasquatch, there are other creatures that are not recognized by science that live on this world, that are not of the world that we know. And we will figure that out as science improves and we begin to understand the universe and everything around it. We'll begin to understand that there are other dimensions of Mother Earth.
Well, how about maybe portals where they're coming through another dimension, onto Earth?
There are, I've come to understand, Gary, that, there are portals, and I probably have a picture of them also. With the Sasquatch pacing back and forth in front of it. I would have had video, but and that again was that day that I walked up. I saw that with my I saw it pacing back and forth clear across this clearing, and I'm like, and I'm thinking I'm recording it all. I just, I was ready to go as a Sasquatch researcher. I had pen, pad, freaking camera, my phone camera. I was video, sunglasses, and night vision. I was ready to go, and the stupid video sunglasses were. The lens got cockeyed on it and was pointing up at the sky pretty much the whole time. But you can hear me on it saying, I can swear there's something over there. And I actually decided to get my phone out and take a couple pictures of it. And I'm glad I did, because it wound up being a Sasquatch,
Well, but I can't understand. You're out in the woods, okay, deep in the woods. You're seeing these creatures, and you don't have a gun at all or anything like this. I mean, for protection? No. I mean, you are really a brave person. I tell you, I
don't know if that's the right word, but I appreciate you being kind.
Well, it's not just that. Yeah, I think when I was a kid, my uncle up by Mount Shasta got mauled by a bear. Him and his one son went out bear hunting, and he saw this big bear. He shot it. It kept on coming, and he shot it again. It didn't drop over dead because he didn't hit, I guess, the kill shot. And he got mauled, and he had scars the rest of his life. And he was in the hospital for, well over a month. They thought he was going to die. I mean, it's other creatures out there you got to be worried about. Just like when I was up in the Canadian Rockies with my friend who's a doctor, we didn't realize there was people getting mauled by bears where we were at. We didn't even think about bears. We're idiots. We're from the Seattle-Tacoma area. We're thinking, hey, we're just going to go out and get some, ghost-type pictures, photograph and do that. We did, of course, we couldn't take a gun into Canada, number one, but we could have got bear spray at least. And we didn't even have bear spray. But what scared me more than anything, after we saw our encounter with a Bigfoot, we went about 15 miles. We stopped at a little store because we were shook up. We started telling the attendant or the owner of the little store, that we saw a Bigfoot. And he said, yeah, they've been sighted in this area. But he goes, the other thing you have to worry about, there was some lady a week before that, he got mauled by a bear and is partially eaten. I mean, when you get out places, you got to really be careful. A knife isn't going to protect you or anybody with you. I mean, you got to have some type of protection.
Yeah. I like I say, I do keep a flare with me, and back then I did have that Rambo knife with me, and And but that's, and I even quit carrying that with me.